always the going live. All right, I'll take it the going live means we're going live. So just give me the we are live sign. After all of these times, we still have no, oh, there we go. There's our protocol. Thank you so much. All right, hey everyone. Welcome to AMA number 48. It's the 23rd of September, 2021. I think I would take this protocol from Matthew, who's always said the date. And I realize now in everything I do, I always really slowly say the date. So shout out Matthew for that. I don't know, I really enjoy it. Okay, so we've got 3 guests today. So Eric Harris-Brown, co-founder and chief engineering.
Howdy.
Okay, now we have Nastasia. Nastasia, I don't know I can't remember your surname. So.
Oh, it's unpronounceable. So Nastasia, okay. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. Bye.
Hello, and so Nastasia is?
I am a community organizer for the DevCamp, and I am based next to Moscow in Russia.
Okay, superb. So yeah, great to have you. We're going to be hearing a little bit more about DevCamp. And Mary Camacho, the executive director.
Good to be here.
Yeah, great to have you all. Okay, so let's get into it. So Nastasia, firstly, welcome. This is the what number DevCamp?
It's the 8th DevCamp from the beginning, I guess.
Super. Okay, so the 8th DevCamp. So you're going to tell us a little about what DevCamp is?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is an interesting format to which I've been introduced in the Holochain community, which is built around gathering together for several weeks and then building some kind of very simple Holochain application during the code sharing sessions set on every week.
Awesome. Okay, and when does it start?
Uh-oh, looks like maybe Nastasia's connection froze on us.
Yeah, is the screen share still? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I think Nastasia's frozen. Let's give her internet connection another 20-30 seconds. It's so stressful, isn't it, when you get on something like an AMA? Here we go, and she's just, oh, there we go.
Oh,
I was going to say, do you need to take a second? I was going to say, it's the most stressful thing when you come on and then the internet, which has been fine the whole time, suddenly drops out.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I'm sorry. What was the last thing that you heard?
There was a huge crash.
No. Okay.
Just when's the next DevCamp?
Yeah, so we don't know when the next DevCamp would be, because you see each one is organized.
Oh, no, this one. Sorry. So when is it going to be hosted? So we told a little bit about what it was. When's it going to be hosted? Sorry.
Yeah. So this DevCamp is starting next week, and we would actually have our first session on 28th of September. And our last session with the content would be on 11th of November. So that would be 7 weeks in total, but we would have 1 week in the middle for like a short break for everybody to catch up on the first half of the DevCamp and to just socialize with the participants.
Okay, awesome.
We would also have support sessions every week for the US and Asia Pacific time zones. That's a new addition to the DevCamp format, which we didn't have before, but now we will, because we have so many volunteers available and ready and interested to help. And also we have an overwhelming demand in both of these time zones for more content or participation. So yeah.
Okay, super. And so how many people are registered and how many volunteers?
Yeah, so we have more than 1,500 people registering for the DevCamp, which is absolutely crazy amounts for me personally. And we have a team of organizers of more than 8 people. I mean, sorry, I'm finding it hard keeping all of the lists, because it's actually a lot of people who are responsible for the event, and like everybody's helping in some way or the other.
I completely understand yeah, I wouldn't have access to that either. I'm thinking just from an AMA context, it's always nice to lend gravity. But I think what I'm really saying is awesome effort. And again, so often we get asked around, what people are really saying is, give us signals that Holochain is on track or the Holochain community ecosystem is growing. And then they'll follow like, how much are you going to pay developers? And they're looking for things like Holochain announces $500 million fund to go into the ecosystem. But what's quite interesting with those signals is many of these signals are in place because they don't have 1,500 people registering for a dev camp. They don't have community coming together to organize dev camp because of what their technology means to them and their lives and their community. So just wanted to ask that question in a way, because it's one for those of you out there, we're not always going to be consistent with our signaling and look like other projects, and that's absolutely fine. There's many ways of being in this ecosystem that we're all sharing, and it's something we do return to every now and again in these AMAs, but I just wanted to take a little bit of a pause and highlight it right now. Okay, and so we have this broad set, 1,500 plus people, lots of people helping to organize, and volunteers helping with the various support sessions. What about in terms of who? Is it? I know it's called Dev Camp. Is it just for developers, or can other people?
Well, we are kind of trying to do an impossible thing here, because we are making this very big and like popular event with a lot of people, but all of them have different backgrounds. So inevitably, we are trying to do an event for developers where we would be actually writing a lot of code. Most of it would be in Rust. So like being able to read Rust code from the screen and to reason about what's happening in there would be very important, I would say, just to feel comfortable with the event and to be able to comprehend what's happening. But we would also have sections where we just cover some fundamentals. We reason about architecture and design and data models. So those would be a bit more abstract and a bit more easier to talk about, even if you don't have a substantial technical background. I would advise that most comfortable level would be for developers with medium and higher levels of experience. But we've seen a lot of beginner developers and students as well joining the Dev Camp and getting some really cool ideas and meeting new people and learning new things about, computer science, because Holochain is a totally different data model from the centralized applications. So if you are into graph theory and some weird data model solutions that you wouldn't see in a boring enterprise application, that's the thing that to learn more about. So yeah, I hope I gave enough context.
Sounds very cool. Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us about what they're doing before if we get into a couple of the practical things?
No, I wanted to add something about the signals and community. So I personally joined the Dev Camp as an organizer after participating as a participant in the previous Dev Camp. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the Holochain community, is that I was able to join just as someone who was interested in the project. But then during the event, it was easier to communicate with people, to establish some connections. And in the end, I and some other people were like, wow, this is amazing. Let me help. How can we do more of this? How can we build this stuff? How can we do that stuff? So it's this atmosphere that's really cool. And right now we have an entire team of people who are doing it absolutely for free after their main job, just because we're all excited about it. So it's a nice place to be.
Okay. And I can see here that you're going to be working on a multiplayer game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We will be building a very simple, like teeny tiny text-based multiplayer game, which would allow us to show all of the main features of Holochain and how they apply to the application development. For example, eventual consistency, which is a very big thing in Holochain, which applies to almost any decisions that you make, would be very well demonstrated in something that requires consistency, because you need to have consistency in order to know what's the score of your game, how many people have made their moves. So these are all the topics that we would be covering.
Okay, amazing. And I think you've covered, though, I was going to ask you what if you're not technical, but I think you've covered that mostly.
Yeah. There is also, so yeah, if you're not very technical, you may feel a bit lost during some parts of the dev camp, but it still may be useful for you to get this context. But I'm a technical person, so it's very hard for me to reason about things that would be easier to perceive. So I would leave myself out of this. But there are some other places in the Holochain community which allow you to get more perspective into the business side of the things and to meet with other people. For example, there is also a community organized Holochain open space event, which is hosted roughly every month. And the next occurrence would be this Monday. So the upcoming Monday, 27th of September. You can find more about this on the Holochain forum. They have a banner right on the front page.
Okay, super. And so now I'm definitely want to get there. So how do I sign up?
Yeah, so you can sign up for the dev camp from the official holochain.org website. They have this small section for the dev camp right in there. And yeah, I think we have also posted a lot of links about the dev camp on the forum, but I think the main Holochain site would be the easiest place to look for.
Okay, cool. And just finally, if I miss it, when's the next one?
The next one after the current one, you mean?
Yes,
yeah, we don't know that yet, because you see, every time we host a dev camp, we actually right now on the team of organizers, we have some people for whom that would be like their introduction into the Holochain community. So some of them just looked at the project and thought, I want to learn more about it. And they ended up helping the team of organizers to develop an application, to give the context, how should we teach things that we know for some time to people who are just learning them. So once we finish this dev camp, we shall see. And if someone is interested in holding the next dev camp, please contact the current organizers. We will be very happy to coordinate.
Okay. Thanks so much, Nastasia. So actually, I'm not sure if this is completely accurate, but I know one of the original patterns was one, dev camp community organized, but two, the organizing group is never the same group.
Oh, I am not sure I know about this pattern. I mean, I wouldn't say that there have been the same group organizing the last 3 dev camps.
Yep.
So there is certainly a lot of rotation between people. So yeah.
Yep. So I think that for people to note, it's not as if when you're talking about community organized, that doesn't mean that there are the same 5 people that are always doing dev camp.
Yeah.
What
absolutely.
that means is that a different community of people come together for every dev camp to then organize and run the dev camp, which is like a really, really, really cool practice in itself, because it takes then the desire for a group of people to come and say, hey, we want to run another dev camp. So thank you so much, Nastasia. So just for everyone to reiterate, dev camp is starting on the 28th of September. The sign up links are on the forum, or you could go to holochain.org/dev camp or dev-camp. But it's everywhere, so you'll be able to find it. And there'll be an open space on the 27th of September.
Unrelated to the dev camp, just another community organized place to like meet with people. Now that's
okay, super. Thank you so much. Well, Nastasia, I know you're going to stick around to answer a few of the technical questions for us. So thank you for that. And then, but I'll jump to Mary now for a little update on what's been going on across the world.
I just want to say thank you, Nastasia. That was wonderful. There's just so much energy coming out of the community and building right now. And it's so present when it gets delivered back in a context like this, that's like, oh, because I don't meet with the dev camp organizers. I'm not seeing it and hearing it directly. I share stuff in my communications about it because it comes through in written form, but it's so great to see you and so great to hear you talking about it and like feeling kind of all that's gone into it, because it's a huge thing to deliver any form of education online, but to 1,500 people, that's, I know, it's crazy. And so I really look forward to like seeing how it all goes, because this is a learning experience for everybody involved, not just the people who are coming to take the dev camp. This is, you know, we're learning together how to learn together. I mean, and I know that's really meta and silly, but it's really the way that it is. And because it's something so brand new that's changing so often, I mean, the people who are teaching this, they've just learned it. They've just learned it. The people who are developing it, they've just learned it. The people in Holo who are using what's just been developed in Holochain, they're just learning it because it's changing. That's what innovation means. You know, it's constantly changing. And so this is like kind of my point in giving a little update about what's going on in Holo, is to come and talk about like, this buzzing energy. And I'm just feeling it from everything that's already been shared. And so thanks for kind of setting that up for me, because it feels pretty great. So yeah, it's, you know, I think I said something in one of the updates recently about like the changing seasons. I do really feel like that kind of crest over from summer into autumn has just been really, I don't know, it's just been, you just can sense it. There's a different energy in the team. People have been taking a lot of their vacations this year. People have needed them, like on our team, on the Holo team, Holochain team. It's been some solid, deep work these months, especially during, you know, COVID and different lockdowns and different things going on all over the world, all at different times. And it you know, I said to somebody this week, it feels like it gave us an opportunity to like really go in for a long winter in a way, and really just get through a lot of the things that needed to be gotten through. I don't talk a lot about the dev process, and Eric, maybe later when you're talking, you can talk a little bit about this. I say this inside of our team. I talk about the horizontal aspect of developing something that's so much an R&D project, because there's so many different layers of infrastructure and app development and framework development all going on simultaneously, that suddenly there's these moments where things come together and the horizon just shifts. And it's far, you can see so much more. You can understand, this is how this piece is going to finally happen. Now we know how to implement it. And things just kind of click. And what I want to share about that is that we're in one of those moments right now, and it has a lot to do with what's come together with the most recent Holochain release. So just yesterday, there was a weekly release for Holochain. You know, it just, that thing that happens. We're trying to get it real regular. I think right now it's scheduled on Wednesday. It could change, but right now it's every Wednesday. We hope to get one out. The one that went out this week has a lot. I mean, a lot of the parts and pieces that we need to make DevCamp really work. A lot of technical folks are working on tooling that's related to DevCamp, and yesterday's release is making that work well. We've got some products, or I don't want to call them products. We've got some tools like the launcher, which lets you open up Holochain on your local environment and run the apps. And that's a lot of fun, and it's new and it hasn't really been seen yet, but it's coming and it's going to be used in DevCamp. There's some scaffolding tools that have been reworked. I mean, we used to have scaffolding tools a long time ago in the Go version of Holochain, and we never rebuilt them. And I know there's some work that's been going into rebuilding that in some way. It's very different. I haven't even seen it, so I'm talking about something that I don't have visibility to. So just take that with a grain of salt. But it's exciting because these are things that enable more, right? The launcher lets end users see apps. The scaffolding tool lets people get started on designing and building Holochain apps. So these are really, really exciting tools that are being built out in by folks in the community with the support of Holo and Holochain together to really have this stuff come together. And it's working because of the stage of Holochain. And so the thing is that we're at a place where you might have heard us talk about sharding. Well, we're not using sharding yet. We're not even truly testing it in its full measure. We're testing and using something that I'll call sharding ready. It means all the code for sharding's there, and we're using it still in a single shard. That's where we are today. But that is where we needed to be to start moving into sharding, which is why the way I'm talking about this is as an opening up is because it's making all the next steps possible right now. And in Holo's kind of been waiting a bit for some of this work. We've been continuing to build apps. We've been working on the publisher portal. We've been working on the HoloFuel app. We've been continuing to build out infrastructure. And all of these projects that we've been working on in parallel, they are having a moment of wide open progress because this release unlocks our ability to move forward. And it's exciting. We're releasing, well, we will be releasing the new version of Elemental Chat when that gets upgraded to the new version of Holochain. We're still working out details, so I'm not promising dates on any of this stuff at this moment, but we've got some of these things updated. We've got some of these things kind of waiting to be updated, but there's so much energy across every one of the dev teams right now. And I just wanted to share that as the context for where we are. Eric, when you get to your point in the program, I know it'll be really great to hear from you how this latest, I think we're calling it the weekly release is 107. We have point numbers on our releases. I would really love for you to dig in a little bit about what it's making possible in some of the existing apps that are out there that are already being used and how you guys are experiencing it in the different dev teams. So I probably missed a few things. So let me just check my notes real quick, see if I got it. I had a lot of different things come up for me. I think the only other thing I'm going to say is that we're related to that horizontal shift. We're working on a new version of, or not a new version, but an update to our roadmap that we'll be putting out. It brings in some of the pieces that weren't visible before, the Holochain key releases or key features that really help us move everything forward. They help us as Holo move our roadmap forward, but they also help all of the developers out in the ecosystem move their projects forward. And so some of those have been released already in the current releases, and some of them are still coming. And so it'll include that. It'll include some updates about infrastructure releases that we're continuing to make. One example of that is that we're reworking, for example, all the way that hosts get onboarded and that holoports get registered onto the network. And this is really important because it's going to be using some of the key features that Holochain has implemented around key management so that we can have multiple holoports associated to a unique user. These things weren't possible in the past, and they're becoming possible because Holochain is maturing. So that's the crux of the update today, or the gist of the update today, and I'm going to leave it there and pass it back to David for questions for the AMA.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, there's so much happening, is what I took from that. All right, so to drop it down again, are we still on track for full, sorry, this question says, are we still on track for full beta of HAPS as per roadmap before the end of 2021, including HoloFuel swap? But I think what they're really saying is, yeah, well, including the swap. Are we on track for the beta of the Holo hosting network before the end of 2021?
I just want to call out something here. we haven't been promising dates. We still are not promising dates. There's been an uptick in the external community of seeing that there is a date associated with beta. We don't have that yet. When we have it, we'll let you know, but we don't have it. The roadmap that we're working on that we're going to put out should help give a little bit more clarity, because when we get to the point where we have full feature for Holo, we still are going to be doing significant security testing. It has to go through a period of kind of test, and we're doing component parts and pieces as we move through it. But then when we get that feature complete for beta, we still are going to have some settle time. And that's really critical for people to understand. So that's going to be, well, we'll keep sharing what we know when we know it. And it's really critical to understand that it is still, there's horizontal aspects to this project still, and we're just making excellent headway and progress on it. And we're super excited about where we are right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think like for people asking, there've definitely been moments in 2021 where we've been thinking beta is closer and beta's further away, and that's what Mary describes with the horizontal nature. Often we make a big leap, and then as we see things, we can see things accelerating. And then because when you get to this point of how new what we're doing is, you realize that with testing, etc., that there's a series of things that then need to be addressed, fixed, bugs, etc., or we have to build our own testing infrastructure or whatever it's going to be. So when we're saying, and please for everyone listening, when we're saying we're not promising dates, what that also means is we can't promise dates because, as Mary just described, we've got to get to everything working together, and then we need the testing and security checks and everything else that we have to do, which no doubt, given the last 3 years, is going to throw up stuff that we're going to be working on. So just come and enjoy the ride, start testing applications, start participating, start playing around in the ecosystem. And what you'll find is that beta for the Holo hosting network isn't anywhere near as exciting as what you think it's going to be, because there are so many other phenomenal things that you can be doing along the way. Okay, so are there already required 800 holoports? Oh, sorry, so we've said that we need 800 holoports for the alpha program, but can it start even if the 800 aren't connected? And Mary,
we're going to get 800. The numbers are going up, and they're going up quickly. In the last week, there were quite a few updates. We're over 500 or 600 now.
Okay.
And then there's a whole chunk of people that have started the process that we've just made a couple of updates that'll probably let them finish their registration for this. So I just want to step back. The HoloPort Alpha program, this is where we're going to be paying hosts to use their holoports during alpha, because we need to be able to put ports in a lot of different environments, test environments, development environments, and even just alpha testing environments where small groups of pre-release testers are, or larger groups of alpha testers, where alpha participants are. So that's why we need so many holoports. It's really critical when we're trying to load test at different, all these different applications in different ways, that we're able to put 50 to 100 holoports in a given test and not be trying to go, oh, whose holoports are available. So that's why we're really trying to get this. It'll make for some massive efficiencies on our team's part and give us the ability to do things that we haven't been able to do so far. So that's why we're doing the program. We have been getting people registered for that. It'll get launched soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. Some of the things that we've been doing while we've been waiting for these hosts to get registered is we've been ensuring that we have the reports back to them that they'll need prepared. For instance, every week after the program starts, if you're a host in the program, you'll receive an email that tells you what your HoloPort statistic is, basically for that availability statistic, so that as you're going through the month, oh, great, my HoloPort is available, my HoloPort has uptime, I'm not having internet connection problems, it didn't go down and I didn't know about it, so that you're kind of kept up to speed throughout the month and know what the status is. And then once a month, you'll also be getting sort of like, here's your end of month report with accrued Holo fuel so that you know that, yep, we got it, it's in there, and you're good to go. Those are things that we've been making sure that we've got ready to go for the beginning of the program when it starts. So yeah, it's on the way, and we'll be starting it soon.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we've got, I think, 15 or 20 minutes left, so I'll crank through some questions now. That was great, but I think, yeah, we've got a real sense of the breadth and speed and momentum, so it's great. Okay, so I am a large hot holder who is very excited about the upcoming dev camp. I'm willing to donate a significant, or like 10 to 20 million hot, if Art or Eric or Mary or Guillaume or David or Nastasia or anyone else can think of a fair and productive way to distribute it at the dev camp for development purposes. So possibly a contest with the top 3 to 5 prizes for individuals who come up with solutions that the core team finds useful, and let me know your thoughts.
All right, go ahead, Nastasia.
Yeah, I just wanted to add here that DevCamp is aimed to be an introduction into the Holochain community and the Holochain as a development framework. So I think it wouldn't be a right place to make any kind of contests, because there is a lot to cover in this short time that we will have, and adding anything else and distracting our participants with any kind of prizes or different goals other than learning and understanding would just would make it inefficient for everything that we're preparing. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. But what I want to say is, wow, thanks. That's really generous. I really love that. I think we want to talk to you about this. This is cool. So we have been talking about contests and prizes at Holo for many years. In fact, before David was joking that the answer to this question is a 400-page PDF of all of the discussions around this. The thing is that there's a lot of question about when does competitive prizes produce a really good environment for what? And so in this phase of development and spreading and the understanding, the way Nastasia said, we've really decided to focus on collaborative contexts. Competitive contexts are fun and cool, and we also want to do them. So we do want to engage in this kind of energy. And but I don't know, we haven't figured out how to do it yet, but we know we will. It will happen. So thanks for your offer. Thanks for offering that up. I want to say we really are taking that seriously. We want to do it. And like Mary said, now that the code is working as well as it is, and once we have 1,500 people who've gone through a program of learning and are ready to go into that kind of competitive space, it sounds like this is the time when this is right. And I do hope that we'll be getting to that relatively soon.
Yep, I just like in our internal channels, I will make absolutely no comment about this because there are people who've thought about this way more deeply than me. But we could also have a prize for the elemental chess tournament, or elemental chess tournament, or I mean, there's going to be so many cool things. As everyone says, awesome idea. There's going to be so many cool things coming. Okay, so when are more holoports going to be manufactured for sale? And this also goes to the people who direct message me and try and ask me for when holoports, including family members, like when a holoport, how can I get my hands on a holoport? So Mary, please tell me, because I because you don't know. Because otherwise I just give them to people. So.
Okay, so holoports are being manufactured right now, but most of them are already sold. And the reality is that we've got a couple of new orders that we've got in manufacturing, and they'll be out later this year. And a lot of them were set up to be offered to the folks who had nanos and were given an option to upgrade. And there's still some that may be available. We're reaching out little by little to folks who are on the wait list. So sort of randomly, I don't know that we have enough of them available for everybody that's on the wait list. So we're trying to get to as many people as we can with the ones that are available. And as people finish up their upgrades from the nanos, we've got that data clear now. And so you might hear from us, but we're not likely to make any announcements about anything new before beta other than this. And I just kind of to jump in, because I want this to get to Holochain and all of the cool stuff that Eric's going to be talking about. I know there's another question there about virtualized holoports. And I just want to say about that, that's on our roadmap. We definitely can do it. And we're just holding off until after beta for anything other than supporting holoports and the hosts who purchase holoports at this stage. So that's definitely doable. We will have cloud ports. There will be all sorts of DIY, I'm saying it right, do it your DIY. Knew something was wrong there. Solutions for hosting. And so that will be announced after beta.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Yep. Yeah, I can't let this one slide. Just also to shout out to all the HoloPort hodlers out there that, and you know, there's definitely a period where there's some people frustrated, and like it's pretty a remarkable scenario, right? Where we have people that have been holding and getting ready to, you know, testing their HoloPorts for a few good years now, and the level of excitement, the level of demand for new holoports, I think the connection you feel when you're hosting applications and you're watching your holoport do it work its magic, it's really, really awesome. And I think like that community is a bit faceless at times. So just a huge thanks for any of you watching or pick up the snippets or whatever. A huge, huge thanks for your early backing, and then also watching some of that come to fruition. So you guys who are jumping in and desperately demanding for holoports and saying like, why don't we open it up? Yeah, of course it's coming, like we've always said, but also let's shout out for everyone who has been along the journey and waited patiently for their holoports, and let's support them as well to enjoy the early days of the network. Okay, so let's jump into some Holochain questions. So awesome work with sharding being coded. Are you guys as excited as we are? Is sharding implemented 100% in the new Holochain release? I think Mary touched on that, but Eric, do you want to go a little bit deeper for us?
Sure. Well, first the question, are you excited as we are? Thank you for that question. The answer so look, I've had this vision for so long. And I basically, what is it? It's like the last 4 years, my head had been stuck inside this computer writing code and working with the team at all different levels, at Holochain level and Holo level. And as of this last month, and as of like this release 107, I have a tool that now I can build all the things that I dreamed of. And so I've been building DNAs, and I've been running them using the launcher, and we'll talk a little bit about that more. And that is so incredibly exciting. It's like, it's really working. And we've gone through a number of rounds where it worked, but it didn't work, and it worked, but it didn't work. And we learned all the things we had to learn. And so, yes, we are really excited as you are. Certainly the person who asked this question. As to the question about sharding, so sharding as a capacity, like Mary said, is fully implemented. Sharding in all of its details is not, so it's not fully turned on. The big thing that we need to be doing around this is testing and resilience work, like Mary said. But so in the context of Holo, for example, we have to make it so that a holoport can dynamically change the percentage, or what we call the arc, the radius of what's being stored, depending on how many chains a given holoport is hosting, because the holoport is doing the gossiping on behalf of the source chains that are being hosted on that holoport. And so there's all kinds of resilience and dynamic properties that have to happen. And there's a bunch of work that needs to be done to make that actually work well. So I was enjoying looking through the progress on our tracking this morning to see how far it is, so I could answer this question honestly. And I was like, this is so freaking awesome. It's working. We have 100% sharding going. It actually does what it needs to do. It gossips. But a lot of the dynamic stuff that needs to be tested is not in place yet. And we're going to just keep cranking through and making that work and testing all these different scenarios. So that's also why I'm so excited, because the frame is all there. Now we can just keep expanding it. It's how well it works.
Okay, sweet. And you sort of touched the next question. What are the devs most excited about? What area of Holochain or what project or sub-project being built? And you kind of answered from your perspective and the dev's perspective, so you can expand on either or both if you want.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that has been super exciting is the level of performance. I mean, we've reported about this because it's just like awesome to watch it jump an order of magnitude and have things work as well as they work. When I've been writing the DNAs I've been writing, it's like, wow, this is the way it's supposed to work. We've always known it could get there, but it's hard to do distributed systems and hard to do things in Rust with Tokyo if you've been looking at this stuff and making sure that all of your queues don't block and your threads don't get starved and blah, 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 technical language for what's actually hard technical problems to get right. So that's what we're excited about as devs, that this is working. I mean, just literally, I'm on with people and it's like, oh, it goes, it works. And I setting things up. So it's just super awesome. About projects that are currently being built, sub-projects, well, the launcher is a huge thing. The launcher is basically a front end for Holochain apps so that you can download an application that then allows you to install DNAs. And that is going to be a key component of the dev camp. As you build your DNAs and you build your HAPs, you can pop them into the launcher and watch them work and start doing what you're doing with what the app does with all the people who are playing in that particular DNA. And you can do stuff like do the very simple things of doing different UUIDs for the DNA so that you create subgroups and you can start communicating. And so that's really exciting. There's the scaffolding project that Mary mentioned. This is super awesome. If any of you out there are Ruby on Rails coders and you used to be able to just press one button and you had basically all the directory structure created for your application, and you could even start adding in like the basics of what's the model that your data is holding and then how that's rendered. If you remember that from model view controller stuff in Rails, well, now we're doing the same thing for Holo and for Holochain. So you click a button and you basically have the full directory structure with everything, and you can actually start the app running. It actually works, and then you can customize it. Way, way easier for learning if you can do that. So that's in the process, that's working. Of course, the thing that I'm really excited about is collaboration DNAs, things that really are working on collaboration. So I've been working on SYN, which is real-time library for Holochain applications, and I've done some blog posts on that. And that includes actual running examples for like a stickies-based stickies-based tool that you can use to coordinate your meetings. There's just so many other things. And of course, then there's some of the underlying tools. We're working on the Dev Hub, which is going to be a Holochain application where developers post their DNAs and their zones that are then composable and downloadable by other devs. So this is in the works, and I'm actually I just got it across my desk today that I can go and take a look at it and see how it's working. One of our devs one of our community or side contractor devs has been working on this. So it's just, yeah, things go on. David will talk your ear off about chess. Guillaume has been having a great time building out the chess app, and I've been enjoying looking at how it's structured. That's cool. So there's just too many things. We're all excited about it.
The only problem with chess is every time I play Guillaume in an ecosystem session, he does beat me quite badly, despite my bizarre openings. I'm trying to phase him
because of your bizarre openings.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, and I think Guillaume and I have been playing on Launcher the last 4 days, and it's so exciting. Well, anyway,
Nastasia, do you have anything that you're particularly excited about of the sub-projects that are being built?
I think the main thing for me is just seeing this volume of apps being launched and built, because I see a lot of developers joining the community and people need different examples. And it's really nice to know that if you need an example of, I don't know, an event processing, you have this project, and then of something else, you have that project, and you can read a lot of code and you can see a lot of things working. So yeah, for me, it's the volume of things.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's a really interesting observation. Let me just make an analogy here. Firstly, Eric, thank you so much. But that was so many words in such a short period of time. So it was like trying to cram in what he was excited about into a brief answer to a question probably is the answer itself. But just again, one signal, or hey, Isaac, as the kids are coming in. One signal into a difference here. Again, for those of you who are in the blockchain ecosystem. So when we talk about the number of HAPs or number of blockchain applications. You might have a really strong ecosystem with 100 projects being built, or 200, or maybe 1,000 projects. But when you really start playing and you see how you can be building applications in Holochain, what you can start to imagine is the hundreds of thousands and millions of applications being built and the level of propagation. Mary, you're jumping in here.
Yeah, I would like to, because I think one of the things I'd like to hear from Eric right now is about the composability. What are some examples of zones that are being used in multiple apps right now? What are some examples of apps that might be being used as, in combination with other apps right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm just going to give two that are really, really simple and straightforward that already exist that you can drop in. So one, and I've dropped into some of the projects that I've been working on. So one is a profiles zone. So this is a chunk of code that you can drop in to your app, and then all of a sudden you have profiles already going. So you can put up a little avatar for your user, you can type in a nickname, and it's done. And the level of composability is really beautiful because it's not just the zone, but it's also web components that provide UI for it. So if you're building your app according to this pattern that we're using, you can just drop in a zone and its user interface component, or you can rewrite your own user interface component if you want a different one into your particular app. So another example is file storage. There is a file storage zone that has been written out there where that chunks up your data, your big file, into different commit entries, and that is something that's available. And there's a lot more other things that are coming down the pike. And what's even more exciting is the kind of composability that's going to happen on the UI level, where you can have UI units that bundle together different DNAs that are actually running. And so you have runtime composability of that. So this stuff is actually, it's hard to do in the centralized world. It's reasonable to do in the decentralized world with the architecture of Holochain. And that's this stuff is going to be really kind of mind-boggling. It's going to be really fun.
Great. It's great. So Nastasia, hope you don't mind, David, that I'm asking some questions. I'm really curious about these things.
I love it.
But when Eric's talking about the composability at the different levels of zone and app, are you guys going to be talking about any of those things in DevCamp and showing people where they can find those and how they can play with them? And is the app that you guys are building going to use any of that?
Yeah, so we are planning to, but it's not 100% certain. So the thing with the DevCamp is that we often go with the flow, meaning that we focus on the things that are most important for the participants. And if there are more questions about certain topic, we wouldn't go further too quickly in order to cover this topic. So we want to show certainly we would be showing places to look for examples. So if not during the DevCamp code itself, we can talk about things from the community that are already written. And during the last year, there have been so much more examples of things that you can do. Like if you're a developer, you want to build something, you can read 5, 6, 7 different projects with different styles that would be doing similar things or different things, but I mean, it would all amount to the project that you want to do. And yeah, the composability of a Holochain application is a very fundamental thing about it. So even if we wouldn't be introducing examples of how to do this composability on the development level, we will anyway cover the architectural things that follow from it. So like, how do you build applications differently, knowing that they can be composed so easily from so many different parts?
Great. Well, that's wonderful to hear. And I think, this has been one of those things, and Eric kind of touched on it a little bit, but we've been hearing from Arthur and Eric especially, and several others in our dev teams that have gone and shared more publicly. This is just one of those features or capacities of the framework that stands to accelerate what's possible in app development incredibly. Mm-hmm. And so for me, knowing that we can get that out in some way that's intelligible to users early enough so that they're not doing it the hard way, but that they're actually learning from the get-go, that you can lean on the expertise of others and the things that others have built. That's what I'm super excited about.
Yeah, one of our main goals is to equip our participants with enough tools and understanding to explore further the Holochain community and application development. So we would be explaining how to go around those things and how to make them work together.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right. So the next question relates to layer 2s, Eric. So do you still think, given the way layer 2 chains work, that's in other words, side chains or chains that connect into the Ethereum network to take advantage of and faster speeds, lower transaction costs, do you still think the 10 to 100,000 times cheaper comparison to Ethereum continues to hold merit a significant comparative advantage?
So this question is tricky. It's kind of almost like, have you stopped beating your wife yet? Right? It's one of those, because the problem with this question is that when the model is so different, the capacity that's created is of a different order, of a different type. So trying to compare price doesn't make a lot of sense. And we did it, I did it, so it's kind of my own fault, right? So, because in the early days, what we did is we looked at how many transactions of computation could happen in the Holochain model on Go, and we compared what the gas cost would be to the same ones in Ethereum. And I actually ran I created a Ethereum apps that did this, and I created Holochain apps that did it under the Go model. And the price difference was like, well, it was really not comparable. And so maybe that was a little bit of hype that wasn't fair on some level, because there just aren't gas costs. And so, like, if you want to sort a list of 1,000 numbers, you can't do it. So how do I compare the price of impossible versus possible? If I do something small, I could compare the price of it, and I could make a story about gas. And it's really just almost in some way not really fair. Yeah, and so the other thing that you can't do inside the main chains is you can't do data storage. You can't store a lot of data. That's like, it doesn't even fit in a block, and it's impossibly expensive. And so I almost want to say it's not fair to make the comparison on the numbers, but as a competitive advantage, the capacity that we provide is surely something that's still significant. But I'm not going to be able to give you prices, and also the volatility is so high. Like, gas price goes up and gas price goes down, and maybe you can do something over on a side chain. I mean, some people have said that one way of looking at Holochain is that it's side chains all the way down. Everybody has their own chain. So, okay. So, like, I really don't quite know how to answer that question. But the point is that in the Holochain ecosystem, because of the way it's architected, you can do a different set of things. And that doesn't mean that the things that are being done in Ethereum aren't useful and valuable. They're awesome. It's like the blockchain has solved beautiful, beautiful problems, and it's just fantastic. We're doing something that's in some ways orthogonal, that we had to compare to that because that's what's around and that's what's visible. But when you create a system that's for creating distributed applications, that isn't all about one computer, one global computer, which is what Ethereum basically is the global computer. Instead, it's about lots and lots of small groups at lots of different levels being able to create applications that are fit for purpose in tiny spaces. Well, it's a different capacity, and we can also solve some of those problems in different interesting ways that are being solved at that level. It's hard to play the game. And so I hope that's not too evasive, but it feels like the only real honest way to go at answering the question.
Yeah, and just if anyone watching again, you can jump into the Holo Telegram chat. One of the core devs was actually answering that question about half an hour before the AMA in his own way, which is essentially like, just saying, awesome. It's basically taking a text string of 72 characters saying, as a UTF-8, that would be about $1,000 worth of gas on Ethereum. And if you had then 1,000x scaling solution on like a Polkadot, that would cost about $1. Whereas in Holochain context, that's still free, right? And in a Holo context, we'll see how the pricing emerges, but it's not going to, actually, we will, let's see what happens there. So even then, still the multiplier between the free to the $1 is still expressible in the 10,000, 100,000 range, etc. So I think there's a few different ways of looking at it. Just always just jump in and ask these questions. It's so interesting to hear not only what Eric says, but then the different perspectives and ways of looking at this. So yes, we're still very, very, very excited about what Holochain offers, even more so with the proliferation of layer 2s, because layer 2s make a whole series of trade-offs that aren't necessarily great for decentralization because they still haven't transcended the blockchain trilemma. So again, also very interesting to take a look at Holochain if you want to look at how that might unfold. Okay, Eric, again, can you build video games like Minecraft or Halo on the Holochain?
So the answer is in principle, yes, but in practice, it depends on the latencies that you need for your game. So if you've got a game that it requires like millisecond-based latencies and you're doing simultaneous state update, that everybody has to have the same state, then you really want to have a single server that's really fast, that the people are close to, and you manage that stuff. In a Holochain, it's going to take longer. We can't do that. Our signaling is very fast. It's peer-to-peer, and it's millisecond level, so you have beautiful experience. But if you need to update state and have that come in, Nastasia at the beginning was talking about eventual consistency, it's eventual. So it depends on your gameplay. What does it look like? I'm super excited to see what people do with games. I actually think that there's going to be a large number of games created in VR spaces that are using Holochain as their backend because they don't want to have any centralized server. They won't be ones where you have 100 or 1,000 people in the same space having simultaneous update. So the library that I've written is a composable tool that people can use. Speaking of composability, called SYN, which stands for synchronization, right? It's about playing together. That library provides real-time updates, and it works for small numbers of people very quickly. But it depends on the user experience that you want for how it will go. So the answer is yes and no, depending on the exact game.
Cool. All right. Anyone, when will elemental chess become available to public? So, yeah, as in when will people in the public be able to play chess? Like they can chat.
I'm pretty sure people will be able to download the launcher and run elemental chess on it. I think very soon there's going to be a web app thing. So that's public, right? I don't know about it on Holo. I know we have a version that runs on Holo, but Mary, you have?
Well, I just want to say something because we say a lot of things and I think have a lot of assumptions that everybody knows what we know. The launcher is an open source project. It's part of Holochain. The scaffolding tools are part of Holochain. They're open source. Most of the modules, all the Holochain zones and apps that Eric's talking about that everybody's using to make composable applications are open source. So I'm just reminding everybody, because we talk about it as if it's this thing that we're building all the time, but we're building stuff in the open source too, and other people are contributing to these things in the open source too. And that's just I just didn't want to leave it out. I could hear it, and like some people might not grok that. So it's an important point.
Thank you, Mary. All right. Okay, so the final question for today is, how is the immune system development going?
Okay, so that's in the pipeline. The main way that it's going is that it's always present in our architectural discussions and planning. So there are placeholders in some places in the code and placeholders in our thoughts about where warranting goes and how warranting solves this particular situation and how the network has to take that into account. But it's in the pipeline. We've got other things that we need to get working first. So I'd say it's going well because we're keeping it in mind and holding it in our architecture. It's going well, but you don't see much evidence of it if you're looking at the code and looking at the commits.
Well, that takes us. Is there, Nastasia or Mary, anything, or Eric, anything you guys would like to add before we close off today?
I just want to say thanks again to everybody, honestly, because so present to the involvement of everybody in the community, so present to the host community, signing up and getting excited and doing the work that it takes to get into the HoloPort Alpha program. There's just a ton of conversation and activity. We're a little behind on some help desk tickets. We're sorry about that. We're trying to catch up. You know, I know if people are still struggling to get into the HoloPort Alpha program and need some help, get on the Holo forum. We've got people checking that daily, trying to make sure that you can get what you need. We had a few hiccups, I think, last week, but I think those have all been sorted. So if you've tried to register and weren't able, try again. Try the test check again. If you've already registered, don't register again. Sorry, just checking myself on that one. And thank you to everybody involved in DevCamp. And everybody signed up for DevCamp and learning about Holochain and getting into this game. It's so much fun. We're so excited to have everybody participate.
Yeah, I would echo that sense of gratitude. I want to give some real gratitude to the Holo team and all of the work that's being done. And this is very personal to me because it means that I have been able to change my role. And I am now in dev engagement and out in the community, and I'm actually working with folks who are interested in producing significant Holochain applications. I was talking with a professor at a university who's interested in anonymity applications, who's interested in deep currency solutions around resource event agent economic modeling. And this is really important stuff. We're going to be doing some big development, and the fact that I now get to be playing in that space and putting my energy there, which it has been all about, is only due to all the work that has happened inside the team and outside the team. And so, yeah, it's a deep sense of gratitude and excitement.
Mm.
Well, any Nastasia, anything from you? Can you top that?
Yeah, sorry, I wouldn't certainly be able to top that. So yeah, I just want to say that as somebody from the outside of the whole team and the company, it's really nice to see how the project is growing and how much effort is being made. And as a developer working with some apps, I see a lot of improvements going in the last few months, and development ergonomics are improving, and it's getting much easier and faster to develop applications. And well, we're getting such an amazing community, and it's really exciting for me to be here. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Fall.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone for watching. I'll leave all the rest of the thank yous apart from Eric and Mary and Nastasia, because you guys have thanked everyone, which is phenomenal. A quick reminder, so the dev camp starts on the 28th of September. Go to holochain.org/dev-camp for more details, or I guess you're probably already in the forum, so go and sign up through there. Continue getting involved in all the various ways, and yeah, and really looking forward over the next month or 6 weeks or 3 weeks or whenever it is till we do the next AMA to see all of the progress and how a lot of these things that we're really excited about are unfolding. Yeah, and thanks, Mary, as well today for some of the context reminders, because I think you're totally right. Like, there's a little bit of getting swept away in some of the excitement here. So thanks for some of the leveling and reminders about where things are. And certainly from my perspective, there's been a big shift in this feeling of like everything's about beta to beta is one of a number of incredibly exciting milestones. But that we've also crossed a few really, really major thresholds recently that unlock some of the things you saw Eric getting excited about today. And so I've got a feeling that's going to start trickling out a little bit more broadly as well, which is really, really, really awesome. Cool. Okay. And with that, we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.